Donald Trump needs to pay himself hush money. Because every time he speaks, he's losing. He hurts himself when he goes on these hysterical rants. Yes, he helps himself with his base, but his base is not the majority of the country. And there will be some MAGA people who feel some pity. Look, in a way I do. I mean, he's an obese, flatulent old man with bad makeup and weird hair who had to sit in a courtroom and listen to a porn star testify about how bad he is in bed. Now, if you can't feel sorry for that guy, now I don't want to make my president.
It might be hard to find a majority of people that feel sorry for Donald Trump the way that Paul Begala does. But the emotion Trump's criminal conviction sparks in both supporters and detractors seems more like anger.
I mean, he's talking about the obvious crimes that were supposedly committed, but that's the core of what a lot of decidedly non-MAGA Republicans are mad about, is that there is no underlying crime. I looked at the statement from Maine Senator Susan Collins, who I think encapsulated it perfectly. She said this was a partisan prosecutor who promised to get Trump, and that's what he did. Not promise to go after the law, but he promised to go after Donald Trump. And so Republicans are wondering today, what do you have to do to build a defense against something you've never been convicted of in the first place? I think you're probably going to see this backfire politically on the Democrats, and they're going to regret it.
You got your face in your hands. What do you got to say to Scott?
I have to say, Scott's lying, and that's the problem with the Republican Party. It is continually addicted to lies.
Wait a minute. What am I lying about?
You're lying, Scott. You're lying about the law. You're lying about what the jury was charged to find. That's the problem with the Republican Party, is that they are suffused with lies. I don't know why this network is paying Scott to say those lies.
Whoa, okay. Let's not go there, George, please. Please, let's not go there.
No,
okay?
we should go there.
Scott is our colleague, and we're going to treat him respectfully as such. Continue.
Well, he shouldn't lie.
No one's really happy about any of this, which ironically might be the only aspect of it that makes Trump happy. Outside of court every day, he pushed the talking points conservatives are repeating even after he's been convicted. The point wasn't to convince anyone that he was innocent, but to sow doubt in the judicial system, from the prosecutors to the city to the judge, all the way down to that jury.
This evening, history has been made today, and many have had a visceral reaction one way or the other. What is your reaction tonight? Do you respect what the jurors have had to say in their verdict?
No, I don't. And I think it's part of the jury's fault, but it's really at the fault of Judge Merchan.
These jurors are going to be like people, they're going to find out who these people are. Is Alvin Bragg going to commit to making sure that they maintain their jobs, that they have security, God forbid? Are these the people that, is this what we need to worry about now? Like if you're doing your civic duty, that you put yourself in jeopardy like this?
Yeah, it's a real thing you have to think about these days now, apparently, thanks to Alvin Bragg, I'm sure we can say thanks to Joe Biden. This is happening. It's hard to blame the jurors, though, Carl, because, look, these people were led down a path so directly to this conclusion, to this verdict by the judge from the very beginning. Yeah, you put these people in this position, and now what? Now what happens to them? Now what happens to our country?
Anything to paint the picture that no matter what MAGA is upset about, it's Biden's fault. Trump's daughter-in-law and conservative show hosts needed to push their fake concern about the jury being outed and in danger without acknowledging that their supporters are the people that the jury has to look out for. Their guy's the one who lost the case. Dinesh D'Souza even posted this. What we saw in New York was state-sponsored gangsterism, not justice. Do not respect the jury. Do not respect the verdict. Our system, no less than Trump, was on trial and it failed miserably. To make us love our country ought to be lovely. There's no question that jurors may have to watch their backs because MAGA has been trying to dox them and send their favorite death threats their way. So it's hard to blame all this on Democrats, but that never stopped them before. This is on that same network acting like they're concerned for people's safety.
I'm just telling you right now, President Biden should just be ready, because on January 20 of next year, when he's former President Joe Biden, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I am going to encourage all of my colleagues and everybody that I have any influence over as a member of Congress to aggressively go after the president and his entire family, his entire crime family, for all of the misdeeds that are out there right now related to this family. I'm just disgusted. I'm quite frankly just pissed off about what happened.
If there's a laundry list of crimes that Republicans can go after Joe Biden over after he's out of office, they can just do it. There's no other reason to tell conservative viewers that you want political revenge over Trump's conviction than to get them on board with the same kind of retribution. And speaking of crimes coming out of the Biden family, their favorite Biden target is facing charges this week, immediately after Trump was convicted.
The embattled son of the sitting president, who's been very public about his struggles with drugs and alcohol, now facing the legal fight of his life, a fight that could end with possible jail time. The first son is accused of lying on a form to obtain a firearm. He checked a box in 2018 that claimed he was not an active user of a controlled substance. Biden has pleaded not guilty to the charges. But Hunter wrote extensively about his struggles with substance abuse during that same period of time. Prosecutors have signaled they plan to use Hunter's own words against him from his memoir, Beautiful Things. Overnight, the judge granting 2 prosecution requests, including barring a piece of evidence from the trial. The defense had wanted to show an annotated version of the ATF form that it says was changed later by gun store employees. The trial may also publicly air embarrassing details of the Biden family's private life. Among the witnesses expected to be called, the widow of Beau Biden, the president's late son, Hallie Biden, whom Hunter had a romantic relationship with.
So in this MAGA-described 2-tier justice system, Hunter Biden is going to trial where he faces jail time, where the judge has already ruled against him in 2 instances, and highly embarrassing details about the family's personal life could be revealed. All this while Joe Biden's Department of Justice is being painted by a felonious former president as working against Republicans so that Biden can come out looking squeaky clean. It doesn't have to make any sense. It just has to clear the low bar to convince MAGA that Trump isn't the criminal that he is. But before their supporters stop to see the ridiculous of their arguments, subordinates are dispatched to keep their lies in the forefront of their minds.
This is so much bigger to me than Donald Trump. I woke up heartbroken for our country because the precedent set is that if you don't like somebody's politics, you should use the American system of law and order to try and destroy them. That's 250 years of legal tradition.
President Biden should just be ready, because on January 20 of next year, when he's former President Joe Biden, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I am going to encourage all of my colleagues and everybody that I have any influence over as a member of Congress to aggressively go after the president and his entire family.
That is what really bothers me. They will try to use our system, bipartisan system of law and order, to throw you in prison. It's so disgraceful, and I think every American, whatever their party, should be worried about this.
With these kinds of conflicting talking points, it's no wonder that the rank-and-file Trump supporter thinks we have to stop this un-American 2-tier justice system that targets political enemies, because as soon as Donald Trump gets into the White House, we've got to use the justice system to target his political enemies. But until then, let's just get violent.
How worried are you that there could be violence emerging from all of this by Trump supporters?
Oh, not at all. Donald Trump supporters are not violent people. You live in a country of 330 million people. Of course, some people are going to do some bad things. But if we want to get back at the New York sham prosecution, my message to every Trump supporter is go to DonaldJTrump.com, volunteer, support him, and vote in November. The only language that these people speak is power. We've got to win the presidency wolf and save this country.
Weren't Trump supporters involved in the January 6th violence at the U.S. Capitol?
Well, if a few people were violent, certainly, but I don't think the majority of Donald Trump's supporters are violent because you had a few people get violent on January 6th.
So your message to Trump supporters in the aftermath of these convictions is what?
My message is don't get angry, don't get depressed, get even.
The entire strategy doesn't make any sense for anyone that thinks for themselves. So when journalists seek answers to the lies, the only thing they've got left are angry denials and shouting matches to take part in.
I'm simply saying that President Trump has said it himself. The best revenge is success.
Actually, Senator, I have to correct you on that, because he's explicitly said.
I was in the room. No, you can't correct me.
I'm looking at the notes right here. He has explicitly said that they did it.
He said, okay, when he said it
Senator,
himself.
He said it publicly. They did it to me, so we have to do it to them.
I'm happy to debate it.
He said they did it to me, so they have to do it to them.